I know what you're thinking. Up until now, you might have been able to keep your child safe with you. But now, as kindergarten or preschool is looming, it's time to allow someone else to take care of them. I know how hard this is. So many people don't understand food allergies, and it's a scary thought to leave your child in a place that could have allergens everywhere. I focus a lot on educating those around your child, which is super important. But today, I want to give you 3 vital things you can do to empower your child as they become more independent. We'll even dive into ways to tell if your child is ready to self-carry their epinephrine too. If you have a food allergy child going into preschool, kindergarten, or grade school, this episode is an essential must listen. Let's get to it. Hey food allergy mama. If you're here, you've likely experienced the scary and lonely food allergy diagnosis with your child. Unfortunately, food allergy parents aren't taught how to navigate the food allergy lifestyle, and it's easy to feel alone and discouraged sometimes. But I'm here to show you that food allergy life doesn't have to feel restrictive, scary, or isolated. I'm Karina, and I'm a 17-year food allergy mom and food allergy coach at Friendly Pantry Consulting. I specialize in making food allergy life safer and less worrisome for food allergy families like yours. I'm not perfect, but over 17 years, I've learned a lot the hard way, and I'm sharing the secrets and resources you won't hear anywhere else that will help you feel confident living with food allergies faster and easier than I did. From introducing allergens, travel, navigating school, and educating friends and family, this podcast will give you the essential tips and strategies you need to help your food allergy child and family thrive. Welcome to the show. This episode is packed with information, and I'm going to talk about some skills for your food allergy child, what they're going to need for kindergarten readiness, and later we're going to talk about how to tell if your child is ready to self-carry their epinephrine. But first, I want to chat a little bit about how we can actually get them ready. Like, how do we even teach this to them? I have 3 tips, and the first one is to use simple language that they understand. This is especially important if you have a really young child. Explain allergies to your child in simple terms that they're going to understand. For example, when you explain what an allergy might do to them, or when they eat an allergen, you might want to say things like, it will make you very sick, or it's going to make you feel yucky. Another idea is to say how it makes their body feel. For example, it's going to make your tongue feel itchy or spicy. Keep the language simple at first, and then you can introduce more complicated explanations as they grow older. Quick tip, if you explain how their body feels using terms that you're going to remember too, your child actually may use those terms if they ever felt a reaction coming on, so you'll know what they mean. Tip number 2 is to model your behavior. Here's the thing. If you don't show your child how to live with food allergies successfully, they won't know what to do. That's why it's important to model the habits and activities that they'll need to do in their own future. For example, instead of doing things without them knowing, talk about them and show them what you're doing. So if you're making dinner, tell them when you're reading labels. Tell them when you're calling a restaurant to confirm menu items. Tell them that you're emailing grandma about the Thanksgiving menu. And tell them that you're putting the epinephrine in your purse. When you do this, they're going to see those daily tasks that they need to do in the future, and they're going to feel like it's doable. And they'll learn as they see you do it. It's going to become second nature and no big deal. If you're not showing and telling them what you're doing, your child actually won't have a clue that you're doing it, and it's going to be a shock when they need to be more independent. Our rule is no epinephrine, no eating or drinking. We've always been really diligent with this rule because we believe that instilling it early helped our child be strong and make smart decisions when she isn't with us as much now in her teen years. But I have to tell you, this is not easy to follow through with. For example, we once found out that we'd forgotten the epinephrine on the way to dinner and had to turn around and add an extra 45 minutes to our trip. We were late and hangry. At the time, it was not easy to turn around because we were late and we were hangry, but that act proved to my daughter that having epinephrine with us every time she eats or drinks is important. It helped her to see what to do if she forgets it. And it helped her to make it a priority in her own life. By doing hard things in the short term, we are giving our kids tools for success in the long term. Okay, the third tip is to make it fun. And as I mentioned in the example I just talked about, not all lessons are fun and some are really hard, but that doesn't mean that they all have to be. I think it's great and really effective if you make learning as fun as possible. So as you're getting your child kindergarten ready, think about how you can incorporate food allergy skills into your daily routine and how you can make it fun for your child. For example, could you sing a song about it? Could you play with your child and their stuffies and incorporate food allergies into that play? I talk about lots of fun ways to empower your child in my Food Allergy Kids Empowerment Guide. You can grab it for free and you'll get a list of 10 essential skills to teach your child for kindergarten readiness and super fun ways to do it every day. Make sure to grab that free guide in the link in the show notes. So now that we've talked a little bit about how to teach each thing to your child, let's talk about 3 skills they're going to need for school. The first one is basic advocacy skills. Now keep in mind that advocating for themselves can take some time to build. It doesn't necessarily come easy for lots of kids, and I find there's a balance to forcing them to talk for themselves and talking for them. It's hard to find that balance sometimes, and there were times when I wondered if my daughter would ever feel confident enough. But sometimes your kids surprise you. We went out to one of our favorite allergy-friendly restaurants with another family, and the kids are sitting with their cousins on one end of the table and the adults on the other. And yes, epinephrine was there too, thanks to the recent lesson I talked about earlier. But usually we needed to watch the kids order and help my daughter explain her allergies. But this time she was sitting a bit further away, so we didn't jump right in, and she did it completely on her own. Of course, I was slyly listening and making sure she told the waitress everything she needed to tell her, and I have to say she did an amazing job. She was clear and she explained it so well, and I was so proud of her. All the hard work and teaching are showing, and I couldn't feel happier that my daughter is getting more independent and reliable when it comes to keeping herself safe. She has made me one proud mama. So I want you to know that your hard efforts will pay off. It may seem like it takes forever sometimes, but don't give up. What you do now will lead to your child being a great advocate for themselves. The second skill I want you to teach your child before going to school would be that they never have to eat food to be polite. They are going to need this at recess and probably at lunchtime as well. I know this goes against a lot of things we're taught in society because so many people teach their kids to eat everything on their plate just to be polite. But I think it's important that food allergy kids know that they never have to take food or eat food just to be polite. A great phrase you can equip them with is, "No thank you, I have food allergies." It's simple and easy to remember and gets the point across. The next is whether they're ready or not to carry the epinephrine on their own. Some parents aren't sure about whether their child is ready, and when should they be ready? Self-carrying the epinephrine isn't necessarily a skill that they need for kindergarten, but it is something you want to start working on soon if you haven't already. And one thing to remember, that self-administering and self-carrying are 2 different things. I never expected my daughter at such a young age to administer epinephrine on her own if she was to have a reaction. That was the job of the nearest teacher. But my daughter did start self-carrying at 6, and I didn't want to put that pressure on her at that age, because at that time she's just learning what a reaction may look like, let alone having to give herself a needle. So that distinction would be really important to discuss with the school so everyone is on the same page. With that in mind, here's a couple of thoughts about knowing when your child is ready to self-carry their epinephrine. First of all, there is no black and white answer when it comes to self-carrying, and my personal opinion is to self-carry as soon as possible if the child is mature enough, simply because it just wastes too much time to get the epinephrine from the office when a child is on the playground. As I said, my daughter was 6 and in grade 1 when she started self-carrying, but that said, she was very mature and I could trust her not to play with the epinephrine or let anyone else play with it. And yes, kids did ask her to take it out all the time. More on that in a minute. But I could trust that she wouldn't leave it in random spots like the playground. All right, so let's talk about a couple of questions, actually 3 questions that are going to help you decide if your child is ready to self-carry their epinephrine. The first one is, can your child be trusted to remember the epinephrine and not leave it randomly on the school playground? Now, as I mentioned, we want to keep other kids safe, and also it's expensive, so we don't want to have to buy a new one if it gets left somewhere air or gets damaged because it's in the hot sun. The second question is, can your child be trusted not to take it out of its case or show kids or play with it? And number 3, has your child been self-carrying under your supervision at home? If they can self-carry when you're going to friends and families' homes without a problem, that is a helpful indicator that it will be work at school as well. If you answered yes to all of these 3 questions, then I would definitely push for self-carrying at school. And if your child isn't ready to self-carry though, there can be other accommodations made for the time being. For example, I've heard of teachers passing the epinephrine from teacher to teacher so it followed the child during the school day. That would also have to happen at recess and lunch, so the recess supervisor would also need to get the epinephrine. Another option would be that the teacher just carries it all day, and this especially works well if your child is with the same teacher all day. I'm going to backtrack here for a second because I mentioned earlier that kids used to ask my daughter to show them the epinephrine a lot around grade 1 age, kindergarten age, and my daughter was so good about not taking her EpiPen out, but I didn't want her to feel pressured. So I went in and did a fun education session for all the grade 1 kids and brought in trainer epinephrine injectors so they could see what it looked like and even try it out. I read them a story about food allergies and I told them that real epinephrine is not a toy. The session was a success. Afterwards, their curiosity was quenched and they stopped asking my daughter to take it out. So this is definitely something to think about in your child's grade class if you have the opportunity to do it. So overall, some of these habits that we've talked about today are hard to implement, and following through is even harder sometimes. But it's all worth it if we have a responsible, empowered kid, right? Our food allergy kids are depending on us to give them the skills they need as they grow up because we won't always be there for them. Just like many things in parenting, things are not always easy, but it's never too late to start good habits. We've been working on some of these things right from diagnosis, but good habits are worth starting at any time. So I encourage you to start empowering your food allergy kiddo as soon as you start to think about kindergarten readiness. If you found this episode helpful, I highly recommend that you grab the free Food Allergy Kids Empowerment Guide. There's a handy checklist of 10 skills to teach your child and more fun ways to teach them every day. You're going to find it so helpful as you get ready for more independence. And just as importantly, check out my school allergy plan template. This template is going to help you discuss food allergy safety with your school so you can ensure they're fully prepared to help your child stay safe and included. You don't need to worry constantly while they're at school or spend hours and hours researching about what to talk to them about. Check out the school allergy plan template. I will pop that link into the show notes as well. Thanks for listening and bye for now. Before you go, Mama, if you love this episode and want deeper support, head over to friendlypantry.com to see how we can partner together to keep your food allergy child safer and worry less. There's no need for wasting time searching all over Instagram, TikTok, and the web to get the practical knowledge you need for your family. While you're there, grab your free Food Allergy Kids Empowerment Guide or the newly diagnosed checklist today. Topics are not medical advice and are the opinions, views, and property of Friendly Pantry Consulting Incorporated. All rights reserved. Always contact your board-certified allergist, immunologist for health advice.